Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening everybody. It's Sunday afternoon. I hope everybody had a good holiday weekend. I know that I had an awesome time with family and friends, and also a little bit of work. That we've had some really good information that comes out over the weekends. You know how that feed is. Sometimes it's like dull on Fridays, hot on Saturdays, and then who knows what happens on Sundays. But that doesn't really make the bank. But the bottom line is, all the data that we've had in the last few days, last week, 2 weeks, has been really pretty much phenomenal, because it really does set the stage of so many things that converge on one another. So some of the things that I will probably say here tonight is that, and I might even just wing it, because the truth is, since October 31st, when the WTO got started, it was the first, second, and the third, right? That was all about a session for Iraq to go into, to obviously make a cession to the World Trade Organization. And I think everybody agrees that if they're going to go into the World Trade Organization and do business, you're going to find that that's really important. And there's so much more to the story. And I come across a World Bank 117-page document today that really opened my eyes. And I'm not going to go over a 117-page document, but it mentions stuff that got started in 2018, and I always remember showing you guys that, when I talked about the data, specifically having information from the central bank's website specifically related to how much money they spent for new currency. But this document that's out there, and maybe I'll touch bases on it tomorrow in a little more depth, is important, is because what I get from it is, when I go back in time, everybody really knows that when I talked about this numerous times, is that sometimes you got to go back in the past to see what they've done up to the present, and that really sheds light on how much do you really know about your investment. You've heard me say, and you maybe thought I was being rude, but you should know your investment. I wasn't being rude. It's just something I learned. I mean, billionaires talk about, when we invest in something, we do that decades sometimes in advance. Why? Because we know what we're doing. We know what we own. And to me, it resonated with me over a decade ago. And I take it seriously, because why? Because follow the money. They do. And so I'm not getting off on a tangent. It's just that the World Bank and the United Kingdom, Sweden, Canada, they all put together a big paper that's, like I said, it's 117 pages long. And if you guys want to do your research and know what you own, go out and look and see what I'm talking about. I'll put some stuff out, but just want to make sure that everybody knows that in Patreon, they're going to get that information from me, and they're going to get it early, and they're going to get it before I put it out to the major populace. Why? Because the fact is that it's a study, and that's what they're there for. Just like you're here tonight, it's fine, right? But the bottom line is that some of this stuff is that what I put out is a short version. The depth of what's in our Patreon, in our Discord rooms, aside from some of the light-hearted stuff and some of the family talk and this, that, and the other thing, the main body of it is, to be fair, is that it really is about the Iraqi dinar and related topics. So I want people to understand that you got to have a kind of a gray area there when it comes to communities, and we try to keep everybody happy. That's the whole point of my existence with Militia Man and Crew, and all of the team members. I think they probably would agree with me, because they all put in an amazing effort. I put in my best effort, and the cool part is a lot of the community give that back. And thank you to the community, for all of you that do help put that back, and to keep it to a point of let's see where we are. What is the news telling us? And let's analyze it to the best that we have. We're not making it up. We're just doing the best that we can to say that we can give the best information from what they're telling us. But this particular article that I'm going to talk about here is modernizing the electronic payment system in line with the government's directions. And it's important to me because the reality of it is, it's who's talking about it. It's the Central Bank of Iraq. And what are they trying to do? Well, they're communicating with a global, okay, keyword, electronic payment market and benefiting from the developments taking place in the electronic payment market. Well, so they're basically implying that they're going global. And that's fascinating because they're talking about a modernized system, modernized electronic systems and services for the people, and they invoke the word global. So you go, perfect. That's what we're looking for. And so what we're also looking for is for them to do it on a level where Iraq's currency is going to be on the Forex, but not just the Forex, in my opinion anyway, because if you go back into your study and you remember, what did they say they were going to do? It was that the Buna platform, which is owned by the Arab Monetary Fund, is going to actually ease that. So that means that it sounds like they're going to work in conjunction with one another. I think you're going to find that in the future is that that's absolutely true. Not to get on a tangent, but the ISO 20022 is a system that is going to be facilitating trade with the Buna platform, no different than many countries around the world, for clearing and communications with monetary policy. The SWIFT system's been doing it for years, but now it's upgraded. So that's not where my topic is about. But the bottom line is, they're going to do things that are different than before. You remember now, think back, the Bank of International Settlements said that there was going to be some complex financial conditions that they're going to go through, which could create even some shocks. All right, so look, they're in the process of doing things, and it's being like harmonized, if you will, around the world, because everybody's got an interest in making that financial system, the global financial system, to be more efficient, to be more transparent, to be fast, and to accommodate everyone. That may go against some folks' circumstances where they believe that there's going to be this BRICS, for instance, and against this SWIFT, for instance. That's not my take. My take is that the global systems are all going to be able to communicate in some shape or form to have a good conduit. So anyway, this particular article, it says this is in harmony with the directions of the Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani and the governor of the bank, which is the Central Bank of Iraq, Dr. Ali al-Alaq, in moving towards a cashless system, cashless transactions. Not no cash, just cashless, and expanding electronic transactions. So granted, that's great. What are they looking for? They're looking at dealing with expanding products, expanding and creating new products, which is fine. What are they going to be for? Well, to enhance the trust of the citizens. Iraq's been pretty much a cash-based society. They've had problems with banks. We all know this. Iraq's been going at this for putting on 20 years, right? 2003. And so if you look at the history of the WTO, there's many, many countries that take 20 years and more. Some less, of course, and more to have full accession. And we're going to see, and we've talked about this, but not to get into that whole sidebar of that which we've already talked about, but it's important to know that Iraq's not alone in this at this stage of the game. This is a big project. It's a complex project. It's one that you've never seen before, and it's not just all about Iraq. I've been saying it for years. It's about them, but it's not all about them. But in the end, it's probably going to have a good component from them. So it's pretty cool. It says the customs, right? So what we have is that the AYSCUDA system, I'm not sure exactly how that is. It's an acronym, and it is ASYCUDA. So you guys can beat me up with my translations and my stuttering a little bit sometimes, but the fact remains is that I call it the AYSCUDA system. It's a global system. It's an international system, and that document, the 117-page document, is not all about the AYSCUDA system, but it includes the electronic systems that we're going to be using in the future. And they're going to be doing that with Iraq. And then what we're going to see also is that you see these countries and some really heavy stuff that's going on at the last minute, which invokes Turkey, it invokes water, it invokes oil and gas, and it invokes even the paying of the salaries, is because it's all reliant on valuation. In my view, valuation of what? Valuation of assets. Well, what are you going to base it off of? You're going to base the valuation off of 1,310 dinar exchange rate? I think not. I think they're going to use a different number for that. And that's why we haven't seen the salaries paid. That's why we haven't seen the water flow per se. That's why we haven't seen the oil flow out of the, I call it the Cyan port. That's why the salaries haven't been paid. That's because they're waiting for the tripartite budget to be able to have a value for it, to be able to pay all those things. They haven't done that yet. Now, we all know back in June 12th that the tripartite budget was approved and was put in the Gazette. But you have to ask yourself, well, why didn't they pay the salaries? Why haven't they have the HCL? Why are they still hammering it out? Because they're looking for what we're all talking about and looking for. So are we waiting for specific time frames? Of course we are. We're waiting for something specific. But interestingly enough, when it comes to the customs that participates in the workshop entitled Reviewing the Applicable Customs Law, well, this is directly relating to customs, which is the AYSCUDA. And who's involved? It's the IMF. The IMF had a meeting on November 6th, and it lasted through the 6th through the 17th of November. And that was being held in the capital of Amman, Jordan. And the International Monetary Fund had specifics they wanted to talk about. They have felt that there was an importance to have workshops which to develop and modernize customs work through discussing draft amendments to the customs laws to make it suitable for the customs environment, keeping pace with global economic developments, and consistent with the application of electronic automation system for customs, AYSCUDA. So it was 11 days in November 6th through the 17th. I mentioned earlier that the WTO was in Iraq October 31st, 1st and 2nd. There was more meetings ultimately from the 6th through the 8th. So it's complex, but if you have the ability to look that stuff up, I think you'll find it in Patreon that we've documented this. But the bottom line is that they move forward. And this whole meeting sessions brackets many of the things that went on in the last couple of weeks. It says here the authority is keen to participate in international and regional workshops and seminars to learn about the experiences and developments taking place in the fields related to customs work as it sought to involve its employees in these workshops and seminars to develop them, to provide them with updated skills and information at all levels. Who is this from? This was from the General Authority of Customs, the media, government communications on November 6, 2023. They put this out. Nobody caught this that I know of that really spoke much about it. If they did, kudos on them. But the bottom line is all those dates that I talked about. Here's some of my thoughts. To be fair, is that all of these dates I just mentioned, 10/31, 11/2, 11/6 through 11/8, okay, those are obviously November. Who was involved in this? It was the second advisory meeting with the WTO and the UNCTAD who, by the way, all of these entities work with the G20. They all work with the World Bank, and they all have an association with what? The BIS. So all of this data that I'm bringing you is talking about some of the biggest players on the planet as far as finance and financial situations. I don't know what else to say. I'll get tongue-tied thinking about it, but that's how big everybody is, right? It says these meetings that they're going to have are going to be ongoing. So look, I think tomorrow, the 27th and the 28th, are WTO meetings with the private sector. I think that's going to be in Baghdad tomorrow. So all of these things keep happening, one thing after another. These meetings for all this business aren't happening in Kuwait about Iraq, and they're not happening in Jordan about Iraq, and they're not happening in Abu Dhabi about Iraq. What they're talking about is these meetings and these companies, hundreds. At this stage, by tomorrow, there will be upwards of at least 410 or more companies involved, private sector, to what? To do the things that we're talking about. The HCL, for instance, needs an exchange rate, right? The Development Road Project is going to need the exchange rate. The WTO is going to need the exchange rate. I mean, it just goes on and on. But I'm not to keep harping on it, but it's fascinating to see that what we're seeing at this stage of the game, there's some other things that are going on in the background. Like I said, that World Bank document, 117 pages. It was from January 2022 to January 31st, 2023. So they have 117 pages about Iraq's reconstruction trust fund. Okay? It's a trust fund for reconstruction. What have they been talking about of recent? Reconstruction, the development fund. What's it for? Reconstruction of what? Iraq. So you really kind of got to think about this stuff, you guys, to suggest that this is just a fly-by-night, it's a scam, is getting really old. People that really don't know what they own when they say things like that. But here you have, to have a session, for instance, Iraq would need to have accreditation to show the global financial system they now apparently are qualified to do international business with international standards and practices. They do have accreditation by multiple agencies. The International Accreditation Forum, the IAF, the ILAC, which is the Mutual Recognition Arrangement, the ILAC or MRA, okay, and the Arab Accreditation Cooperation, which is the ARAC. All that stuff, you guys Google it, look it up, you can find it today. And you can start to figure out what you own, okay? Because by this, we can see, along with the implications of the ongoing noted above, which is what I just talked about, is ready to go international and to do things that they've planned for in the future. When I saw the 117-page document, and I get these pieces of the puzzle, Meet Me Online was helpful on that, and so I give kudos to him. But hey, it takes a team, and that's what we have. We have people that give us information, and they feel comfortable by, look at this. We take in the good, we throw out the bad. But all we're seeing at the moment is a lot of the good. It says these meetings, the meetings with respect to the Buna platform supported by the G20 for cross-border payments was also overlapped by the IMF meetings on customs laws enforced with the AYSCUDA systems and the players that are involved. So the borders look to be ready to go as they have suggested, and the banks now have liquidity with all the currency swaps that we've seen that are completed. So you've seen this news, if you're up to speed, is that we've got all the meetings with all the different countries on currency swap. These currency swaps are phenomenal because look, who do we have? Well, firstly, if you go back to the 7th, during the same time frame, this window, 6th to the 17th, right, with the IMF, you have the Buna platform launches the foreign exchange payment service in cooperation with participating banks for the secure settlement of foreign currencies, FX, right? They go on to say on this was published on the 7th. It was published, sorry you guys, it was published on the 7th, but it came out on the 6th. It says the Buna platform, the payment system operated by the Regional Cooperation for Clearing and Settlement of Arab Payments, owned by the Arab Monetary Fund, announced the launch of this payment service for foreign exchange, where Abu Dhabi Commercial Bank and the Jordan National Bank, as the first users of this mechanism that provides secure settlement of foreign currencies, FX, by the Buna platform or any other intermediary in these transactions. The Buna platform provides the service in the 6 currencies available on the Buna platform, which are the UA dirham, AED, the Egyptian pound, the Saudi riyal, the Jordanian dinar, the US dollar, and the euro. But that's not all. Look, this is just this one article. They're talking about the Chinese yuan, Asian currencies, etc. The platform is supported by the G20, as I talked about. There's going to be more and more of this information that's going to be associated with Iraq, because they're going to be trading and they're going to be clearing the Iraqi dinar with Article 8 compliant currencies. I mean, if you can't see it, I don't know what to tell you, but enhancing cross-border payments and providing secure and more efficient experiences for participants in the Buna platform, this is where their head's at. It says, but by adopting the PVP payment mechanism to settle foreign currency exchange transactions, what they're looking to seek is consolidating the leading role in the field of innovative payment services. That's where I come back and say again, I'll say it one more time, is that these guys were actually looking to ease the foreign transfer of currencies, foreign currency exchange. Why? Well, it's probably going to be so heavy that the Forex might need some help, and that's what they've said in the past. In this particular case is that now we move forward to the 9th sidebar. It's aside from the platforms, etc. But where did Muhammad Shia al-Sudani go? Well, during that same time frame I mentioned, from the 6th to the 17th, al-Sudani shows up on the 9th, where? Kurdistan region. Where is the WTO meetings and all these other the trade fair was in the Kurdistan region. And not only did he speak with Masoud Barzani, he spoke with Neshirvan Barzani the same day, I guess it is. And forgive me, you guys, I'm terrible with their names. But basically it says on Thursday, which was the 9th, the Kurdistan leader and his headquarters, they got together in the Erbil government, and they talked about economics and all the other matters, right? This next one was that al-Shia Sildani worked with Neshirvan, and what did they talk about? Witness discussion of a number of financial and political issues, files at the national level, and emphasis on the necessity of coordinating efforts in order to support the government in implementing its government program. You guys remember that the government program is huge. It's the whole country. It's the 23, 24, 25 budget. All of the things that I talked about, the HCL, the payments to the salaries, the development road, everything. It's all, that's the government program. Add it up. It's pretty funny because it's an axis of which to focus on improving services and advancing what? The economic and living reality in all parts of Iraq. It's all about Iraq. And so then here you go, you remember this, okay? From 11, so we went to the 9th, and now on the 9th, they're telling you on 11 November through the 14th of November in Erbil, which all of this stuff is preceding this time frame. Technical support to Iraq's WTO membership basically says UNCTAD, who is involved with the G20, who is involved with the AYSCUDA system, okay? The World Bank, all connected. They set out to undertake a second round of services on or a regulatory mapping, because they did one in August, and so this is the second time, a regulatory mapping following up on the first advisory meeting and the regulatory audit of selected services and sectors in Iraq. UNCTAD is due to undertake on the 14th, 11th through the 14th, this second workshop in Erbil to assist Iraqi officials in review and analysis of the legislative and regulatory measures governing insurance. Okay? And there's more on that in Discord and Patreon. The insurance. Okay, the World Bank provides insurance for compliance in monetary issues, for instance, or currency issues, transferability of currency, guarantees in the sense that if you have do a transaction, a global transaction, and you're an international investor, that you have the ability to get liquidity for your currency to come in and out of the country. And so there's insurance for that, which is very supportive. It's a big thing. It's a major, major issue. They're looking at helping out with the higher education of their citizens and postal services. And it's funny that people don't realize that postal services is pretty big on where's the money going. It's amazing how deep and complex this is. And so when the Bank of International Settlements says to everybody in their brother that they have some highly complex financial conditions, I would say so. And they've been working on this for a long time. Again, that 117-page document was only for 2022 to 2023 in January, the end of, right? They got started in 2018. Back to what I told you. They were printing small category notes, as far as I can tell, based off their data from the central bank in 2018. It says basically, look, what we're talking about here is Iraq's ongoing preparation for the WTO session has been ongoing. Is there more information going out? Are they having meetings tomorrow on the 28th, WTO related to the private sector? That's what they say they are. Of course they do. Are they going to have some educational and regulatory education and training starting on December 4th through the 8th? They sure are. What are the implications of that? We're going to find out. Do we know exactly what that means? Or does it mean that they need an exchange rate before they go into this session? Or is it like they have to have the test? For instance, we've done the prior meetings, we've done these meetings, and we're going to take a test to see if we're all qualified. I don't think Iraq's the only country in the world that's going to have a session. Okay, I think that they can do more than one. So anyway, one of the things that they say here is that the objective of this regulatory mapping, which they did, right, is to provide the government the necessary technical support for the formulation of the terms of competition on market access and national treatment conditions for foreign services providers operating in Iraq. And basically it goes on to say that ultimately this audit will also facilitate the coordination, development, implementation of regulatory changes that will be necessary as part of the WTO's accession negotiations and obligations in the post-accession phase. We talked about this. They did this on the 14th, the post-accession. Well, what is the post-accession? Well, they're basically telling you that, in my view, is that we need to talk about post-accession because you're going to have post-accession. Okay, so anyway, fast forward to try to get this to an end this evening. I know it's getting late. It says here's the importance of the oil and gas law. I'm just going to jump to this. There's an article out. It's today. Title: The Importance of Oil and Gas Law. And I'm going to jump right down to all of this. Legislation of this law will confirm the right of the Iraqi people to own the oil and gas wealth as stated in Articles 11 and 12 of the Constitution. It goes on to say that this has been happening for about 16 years. It remains without legislation. It's very strange, not just because the justifications of the disruption are illogical, but the size of the national importance of its legislation, but because the current stage is the most dangerous after the escalation of conflict between the major oil-consuming countries, which has been ongoing. OPEC, my assumption is that. But here's the quote. As well, they go on to say, okay, as well as the country is witnessing major economic transformations. Okay, that to me is the major economic transformations. Why? We're talking about oil and gas, as well as the country is witnessing major economic transformations. At a time, we look forward to implementing the government program. We just talked about that. What is the government program? All these different things, right? You see where I'm going with this? This is the bits and pieces that if you don't miss, if you miss it and you don't read it all and you don't analyze it, you'll catch it. It's not their job to hand spoon feed us. Okay, it just takes some effort, takes some time to be able to pull it off. But the bottom line is, I already talked to you guys about that government program. Here, the oil and gas today, which is high key point, is that at a time we look forward to implementing the government program. And then it goes to say, specifically with regard to the legislation of disabled laws. Well, the hydrocarbon law, for instance, they haven't done it for what, 16 years? It's a disabled law. But what are they waiting for? They're waiting for the government program. Everybody's looking to support the government program. And it says a resolution of disputes related to economic files. Well, what resolution of economic files are we talking about? The oil and gas law. What do we have? Turkey, right? We got Turkey tomorrow, meetings, high level, Central Bank of Iraq, banking, all the highest levels. Got to read the article. It's phenomenal. And why? What are they going to talk about? What did I say at the very beginning? They're going to talk about oil. They're going to talk about gas. They're going to talk about water. And they're probably going to be talking about numbers, how to value the assets. Okay? That's pretty much where I'm seeing this headed. Hopefully I'm right. We'll see how it goes. Here it says that the reform plans for the banking system, sidebar, build strong foundations for economic stability. So technically it says the media advisor to Prime Minister, the reform plans for the financial and banking system aim to build strong foundations for economic stability. Well, that's what Iraq's trying to do, is to do that. And this particular person says, the reform plans for the financial and banking system undertaken by the government and the Central Bank of Iraq aim to build strong foundations for the stability of the economy and pave the way for creating a suitable climate for investment and the eras of illegal trade, dollar smuggling, and speculative operations in the market. In other words, get rid of them. In short, the battle for the dollar is almost over. So in other words, what they refer to when they say, in short, the battle of the dollar is almost over, is that smuggling, all that illegal behavior is coming to an end. You got to be able to think outside the box a little bit. You got to read it slowly. I know it's confusing, but hey, those currency swaps, all those foreign currencies that they've been providing, adding additional liquidity against the dollar or alongside the dollar is going to work. Their main focus is to get rid of the illegal black market. These platforms, which they're not really describing to that extent, but the platforms are going to be using all those currencies, all 6 of them, 10 of them, they're all going to be using the same platform. And what's that going to do? It's going to leave, the only way that people are going to get the dollar to go outside the country is going to be in an illegal market. If you can prove you have dollars for specific trade purposes within the platform, so be it. So it sounds to me like they have a brilliant plan, and what it's going to do is that everybody that's holding on massive amounts of illegal dollars are going to probably shed those dollars quite cheaply. Kind of interesting. Last thing I'm going to come up with is that there's an article that comes out and says economy sports more. A government delegation of 16 officials heads to Turkey tomorrow to resolve 3 files related to the trade and the dollar, and that it's urgent. The translations, I swear, are crazy. But what is it about? Water, oil, development road, and the delegation of Iraqi financial officials, bank managers will head to Turkey tomorrow. They will resolve 3 files related to trade exchange, open correspondent accounts, correspondent banking, of course, and facilitate the use of credit cards for Iraqi residents and tourists. Turkey is going to have huge issues when it comes to tourism, just like all the neighboring countries will. It says the Prime Minister's directives regarding organizing trade exchange between Iraq and Turkey, stabilizing it through approval of legal banking methods and means, and in the continuation of the first round of discussions that took place in Baghdad back on the 15th. So this isn't new. Tomorrow they're saying, we're going to leave at dawn. We're leaving at dawn. And who knows if they'll be back by sundown. We'll find out. But anyway, a delegation including the financial advisor to the Prime Minister, 3 officials from the Central Bank of Iraq, big time, the directors of 12 Iraqi banks to hold discussions with a number of Turkish financial and banking institutions, including the Central Bank of Turkey and the Association of Banks, in addition to Turkish Banking Regulation and Supervision Agency. So, sounds like they got some pretty high-tech meetings going down on tomorrow. And so those guys that are needing to be in Turkey tomorrow, they're going to be leaving at dawn. Okay, I love that. It says the discussions will focus on a number of topics, including discussions with Turkish banks for the purpose of opening correspondent accounts. The correspondent banking, man, that's what those swaps have been about. They talked about it for what, 3 or 4 or 5 days now. It says basically they're the 2 countries resolving all obstacles facing the 2 parties and implementing the process and discussing facilitating the use of credit cards for Iraqi residents and tourists in the Turkish banking market. And it goes on to say that the Turkish and Iraqi customs authorities matching the goods supplied to Iraq with financial transfer documents through foreign currency buying and selling window electronic platform, right, in a way that protects the interest and stability of trade between the 2 countries. Here again, I'm just saying, this is what the black market's going to go away, and they're giving us evidence that I can see. If I'm wrong, we'll see what happens. It says the last thing it points out that it's hoped that the above discussions will result in signing of a number of agreements regarding banking arrangements between the 2 countries, which will contribute to containing the demand for the cash dollar, ceasing the dollar, containing it, through the irregular market for foreign currencies. Instead of saying illegal, they say irregular market. That's funny. But anyway, looks like there's the last minute border hookups. That's what it looks like. It looks like the buying and selling of the currency is going to change. The level of amount of transfers that are going to happen, they're going to be on a platform that's electronic. And they're going to have what it needs to meet the country's needs. There's too much money at play. You got water coming in. You got the development road coming in. You got to have an international currency acceptable globally. You have all these different things. WTO, the World Bank, United Kingdom, all the things, Canada, Sweden, they've been working on this stuff for years. It's not just one of those things. They had to get it to a stage where even the software programs needed to be, and hardware programs needed to be involved. And we're finally seeing it, and it's fascinating. So I hope everybody enjoyed what I had to say tonight. I'm passionate about it just because I believe in what I own. And thank you very much for being with me. And for all the new folks, please, if you like my content, hit that like button. You can subscribe to my YouTube when that comes out. And obviously we have the Zelle, the Venmo, PayPal circumstances to help keep the content going, because, our teams work hard to keep the content flowing. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.